welcome back everyone to Nerdy Nakama. Today's video is the next part of An Uncertain Future, Season 2, Part 5. I'm super excited. It's been a while that we paused the series, so to say, but now we're back, and I know many of you have been asking what happened to Hinata. Well, we'll be getting to that soon. Not today, but very soon. So stay with me. I hope you will enjoy this part, and let's go! Have you ever had struggles finding good Haikyuu merch or anime merch in general? Because I for sure did. It can be hard. But this shop offers amazing merch. Like, I'm literally obsessed with the Haikyuu merch. They have the cutest hoodies ever. Now, if you want to get 10% off, click the link in the description. They offer me a collaboration, which is literally amazing. And you support my channel this way. So, win-win. Let's go. Kuroo should have known that the peace couldn't last forever. He should have known that it was fleeting and volatile, fragile to the touch. He was immersed in a book that for once wasn't about pregnancy or children when suddenly pain sparked through his neck like electricity. He gasped and his hand automatically found its way to the mark. Kenma's mark. The lingering echo of fear and pain that washed over him with vicious force knocked the air out of his lungs and caused his muscles to tense. He knew what this was, and it made him freeze in shock. Kenma was dropping. Immediately, he let the book fall carelessly onto the table and got up. Kenma? There was panic in his voice, and he desperately tried to move faster towards his mate. Why? How could this be happening? Hadn't they been careful? He couldn't breathe. His lungs didn't seem to work properly. The closer he got to Kenma, the heavier got the air with distressed pheromones. The hairs on his neck rose, and he faintly registered the shivering rippling through his body. Kenma! The blonde omega lay in the nest shaking. His eyes were wide and glossy, sweat glistened on his skin, and he had curled himself up into a ball, his face twisted in pain. A drop. As quickly as he could, without frightening him further, Kuroo rushed to his side. He pulled the omega into his arms and cradled him against his chest. Kenma barely registered it, and remained tense when Kuroo desperately tried to coax him into relaxing. Kenma, shh, it's okay. I'm here. His voice was soft, yet he failed to hide the underlying panic. Kenma, listen to me. I need you to listen to my breathing, okay? Breathe with me, I promise it'll help. This wasn't a panic attack. It was worse, and he knew that, but he didn't know what else to do. His own anxiety increased with every second passing by, and he could feel his throat tightening until he was unable to whisper soothing promises to the omega anymore. He buried his face against Kenma's neck, sensing him to the best of his abilities in hopes it'd help. He had read about drops during the pregnancy, but never really thought it would happen to Kenma, not after he came home. Right now, everything he knew seemed to be far away and out of reach. Kenma, please, I'm here. Please come back to me. He held him even tighter, trying in vain to drown out the scent of distress when suddenly he felt arms closing around his middle, reciprocating the hug. His gaze snapped down to look at Kenma's face. The omega's eyes were still glossy but focused now, and after a few seconds, their eyes met. Kuroo's tears spilled over as the relief flooded his system, and he pulled Kenma closer again. He pressed a pained kiss to his hair and positioned them in the middle of the nest, holding him tight. They didn't say anything as they waited for the panic to subside. Kuroo caressed his back, coating him in layers of his own pheromones to calm him and himself, at the very least by replacing or rather alleviating the scent of panic and distress in the air. Slowly but surely, breathing got easier again. Kenma, how do you feel? He would lift the Omega into his arms and drive him to the nearest hospital in a heartbeat if he didn't know that that would probably cause more damage than good at this point. Guilt assembled in his chest at the thought. He should have brought him to the nearest Omega clinic immediately. There had been no guarantee that he could have managed on his own, quite the opposite actually. For the most part, he was no help at all. It didn't look like he would be able to help Kenma. It all could have ended so much worse just because he didn't even consider getting him help that wasn't himself. I'm tired. The smaller looked up at him. His eyes reflected the pain and fear, and yet despite all of that, Kuroo recognized concern as well. Kuroo, stop that. His hands found Kuroo's face, and he pulled him down to connect their foreheads. It's not your fault. That's cute of you, kitten, but I should have brought you to the hospital immediately. Drops are dangerous. Kenma let out a dissatisfied grumble and glared at him. Then I shouldn't have overreacted. Kuroo frowned as they battled each other in a staring contest. That was hardly your fault. Exactly. Kenma, that's not the same. But the Omega wouldn't give in. Kuroo sighed before wrapping him in his arms again. What happened? For an Omega to drop, they had to be put under extreme stress. Normally, that is. Due to the hormonal imbalance during pregnancy, a pregnant Omega was much more prone to dropping, putting them at higher risk for any kinds of things. A drop was a stress response, sending their bodies into survival mode while also calling out for help either to their mates or any passersby able to sense the distressed pheromones. It put an extreme strain on the body, and if they didn't get out of it in time, they would pass out from exhaustion or worse. When dropping, the Omegas put into an almost coma-like state. They are apathetic and unresponsive to their surroundings and can only be reached with difficulty. They were at their most vulnerable. Kuroo had only seen one of his Omegas drop once before. Back then, it was Akashi, and they were immediately there to help and send him. He had never gotten into the full-on apathetic state Kenma had been in a few minutes prior, despite being in much more obvious danger. It left him frightened of what got Kenma to this point. The smaller hit against his chest again, a hint of fear souring the air. I'm sorry. There is nothing you would need to apologize for. Kuroo kissed his temple and returned to gently stroking his back. I had a nightmare. I know it's silly, but I dreamed that. He gulped, his nails digging into Kuroo's side, leaving crescent moon marks. I lost the baby, and it was my fault, because I didn't want it, and you were mad, and... Tears fell freely from his eyes and drenched Kuroo's shirt as his body was shaken by sobs. I woke up, and you weren't there. I wanted to go look for you, but in my panic, I thought that I couldn't feel you, that our bond was gone. I could feel nothing but panic, and I thought you left me. The nest didn't smell like you anymore, and I was so scared. The alpha listened intently while his jaw clenched as he felt his Omega's pain while he relived the events. I shouldn't drop just because of a nightmare. I shouldn't... What's wrong with me? You're pregnant. Kenma stiffened in his arms and his eyes widened a fraction. Wait, that's not what I meant, just... Your body is still adjusting. You're in your second trimester now and much more affected by hormones. That's why it happened. It's not your fault, and there's nothing wrong with you. He pulled away a bit, earning him a whine from the smaller that quickly quieted down again as he cupped his cheeks and made their eyes meet. We made it with you because we want to stay with you forever. Because if we ever have a bigger family, it should be with you and only with you. He smiled, and before he was given a chance to get into cheesy territory, expanding on his declaration of love until someone dared to stop him, Kenma pulled him down into a desperate kiss. The salt of tears still lingered on the lips and mixed with saliva as the lips parted. When they separated, Kenma held him tight, and Kuroo was quick to reciprocate. Please, stay with me. Always, love. An hour of peaceful silence passed, with them cuddling contentedly in the nest and recovering when they were interrupted by Kenma's grumbling stomach. Kuroo didn't need to look at him to know that Kenma debated with himself whether leaving the nest would be worth satisfying his cravings. He chuckled and without much thought picked the Omega up into his arms and carried him to the living room like a koala. There was a weak whine of protest, but neither of them was ready to leave the other alone just yet, so Kenma happily complied when Kuroo placed him on the couch carefully and covered him with one of the fluffy blankets he scented in advance. What do you want today? Tamagoyaki? He looked at him with pleading eyes, even though that wouldn't even have been necessary. Kuroo laughed. Tamagoyaki was very high on Kenma's craving list, and by now he ate it almost daily. Even Bokuto knew now how to make it without burning the house down. Sure thing. By the time the food was finished, everything had settled into a semi-normal rhythm again. Kenma happily accepted the plate while playing on his Switch and occasionally wrote something down on his notepad. Kuroo opened a couple of windows to let out the distressed pheromones before settling down beside him with the book he was reading before. He always made sure to touch him, either his leg or arm, simply to show that he was there. Physical touch was essential for Omegas, which was pretty much a fuck you from life for someone like Kenma who normally hated it. The Omega never found words to accurately describe how grateful he was for Kuroo always being there and helping him. Without him, Kenma couldn't imagine what he would have done without him. Probably gone insane. He shrugged it off, but still leaned closer to the taller. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching to the end. It means the world to me and it's very good for the algorithm, by the way. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's also good for the algorithm. You would do me a huge favor, and obviously if you liked it, then you get a lot more content if you do that. Yay! This episode was very KuroKen heavy, but we will get more BokuAka next episode, and obviously then reunited again as BokuAkaKuroKen, because that's what we are all here for, right? A special thanks goes out to my Neckers who support me so much on this journey and making these videos. They get early access to a bunch of them, so if you also want early access, check that out. Check out my other social media, and also my dogs have a social media account now because some of you asked that I make an Instagram for them, so check that out too. I will leave it in the pinned comment or somewhere. Bye!
Grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.